You can see from this that Europe might be seen as an attraction for Italy, because it would take out of Italy's hands these kind of monetary policy decisions and the exchange rate decisions, and it would force Italy to run with lower inflation, because monetary union would take inflation out of Italy's hands. It would be a European decision, a European policy, nothing to do with the Italians anymore. So it would force Italian industry to become more competitive and to become more kind of Europeanized and behave in a more kind of predictable way. At the same time, Italy also had another pressure which was causing inflation, amongst other problems, which was its trade unions. Italy is a very radical country, so it has traditional extreme left and extreme right, and the extreme left emerges at various points in the post-war era to try and gain major social and economic gains for the working class through trades union activity, militancy, strikes, etc. And in 1968, for example, major strikes, etc. So periodically, there's attempts to do that, and that again pushes up wages and prices in Italy. So it's an inflationary model, a debt model, an unbalanced model, and this over time, decade over decade, isn't really sustainable. So Italy does quite well after World War II in some ways, because it does economically develop, it is a modern place, it is industrialised, kind of, it is sort of up to speed. But this hides great problems, long-term problems of competitiveness, long-term problems of debt, a welfare state not balancing, being too generous, lots of corruption and fraud behind the scenes, lots of political fragmentation and collapses of governments and chaos there. Lots of regional unbalances that become more and more serious in their political effects over time. So there is quite a lot of tension between the South and the North. There is this idea of the North going off on its own and leaving the South behind. So it's perfectly obvious there that European integration might be seen as a positive and modernising force for Italy, because it brings regional aid, it brings some extra regional help and investment, it takes some decisions away from Italy in a way that's helpful to the Italian economy, you could argue. It puts some pressure on Italy to sort out its debts and run more kind of in a balanced way. And it provides opportunities for people in the South to migrate and work elsewhere in Europe, to kind of break up and reduce the sort of stagnation and the dysfunctional dynamics, particularly in the South, but in the country as a whole. Because people can leave, they can go elsewhere, and this might help to offer a release and a safety valve to the Italian economy. So, Europeanisation is held up in Italy as being quite a positive thing. And of course, what's happened recently, again, with the financial crisis and austerity, it plays out quite differently in Italy than in Greece. There's a lot of criticism in Italy of corruption and silly politicians and Berlusconi and all of this kind of stuff. But it's a bit different to Greece in that we've not seen so far the emergence of a movement that's directly kind of blaming Europe for all of the problems. You're not getting that as much in Italy as you have in Greece. There's a recognition that Italy's kind of dysfunctional, but it's okay, they'll kind of survive. And that Europe might be seen as some sort of disciplining and helpful force rather than a difficult kind of imperialistic force as it's seen in Greece. But you can see similar kind of relationship between this kind of Mediterranean model and the North European model. You can see those things there. Should say that Italy's got it's got a big welfare state, and there have been attempts to reform it that haven't gone very far. There is a lot of corruption, there's a lot of waste, a lot of bureaucracy, and that's a pending issue. So there is this idea that they need some austerity, they need some reform, and that would help them to become more competitive.